Hello, I'm Sandy Smith, and I'm here with my coaching partner, Stacy Portugal. We are the coaches of Lifestyle Masterclass, and that is a weekly group coaching call designed to support women in their healthy weight loss and maintenance goals and journeys. And we have been providing some quick tips for you as you move through this season so that you can, with power, enjoy the season. Um, Today we have 5 tips for you that we want to share for traveling. So many of us travel during the holidays, and so we wanted to give you some tools and strategies to help you enjoy that and stay on plan. It's interesting because, Stacy, I find that while so many of my clients say I was traveling and so I didn't have control, I've actually had some clients that actually do better when they're traveling, and I kind of refer to them as my travel superstars. Have you found the same thing?
Absolutely. I think it's very feasible to stay on plan if that's what you're choosing during travel, which sort of leads us into our first tip, which is define the purpose of your trip so that you can just set your expectations. So there's a difference between traveling with, your girlfriends in the Bahamas and going to visit grandma for the holidays. They may or may not be different, but just understanding what's the purpose of my trip and kind of what are the expectations. It might be a work trip.
Right, right. So just really defining what are the expectations for me on this trip. And then that relates to deciding what your goals for the trip are, specifically regarding eating and activity. You may know you're going somewhere where you can't do the activity that you normally do. Perhaps you're a swimmer and you won't have a pool available. So what are the things that you can do? How will you change that? And really being clear on step number 1, what are the expectations, will help you define that. What do I want to do? And setting those expectations and goals then around exercise and activity for your trip.
Yeah, and food. I mean, deciding what your goals are, it might be very reasonable for certain trips to say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to just keep my weight gain to a minimum. And here's how I'm going to do it. But my weight, we're setting our goals based on that trip. Or you might say, you know what, this is the kind of trip where I can just continue in my weight loss efforts.
Right, right. It's not a problem. So
Right.
then you want to plan ahead to support those goals, and you want to get as specific as you can. Um, uh, I'd like to think it's a good example. I'm proud of myself for this one. Last May, when my husband and I were traveling, and I knew there'd be a lot of walking, but I also knew there'd be a lot of eating, and I wanted to enjoy the food, and I wanted to stay true to my yoga, which helps me feel really good in my body day to day. And when I looked ahead, I was really pleased to find that the hotel where we were staying, right around the corner, had an agreement with a yoga studio. And so I was able to look ahead and see that yoga schedule and kind of pinpoint some times in our travel when it would probably be just fine for me to slip away and enjoy a little bit of hot yoga. And that was a lot of fun. I was able to go and do an activity that I really enjoy in a beautiful, cute little studio in a different city that is known for that kind of activity. And it really enhanced my trip. It wasn't like I was shoehorning this activity in, and it wasn't, it didn't take away from my husband's experience, and it enhanced my vacation. So,
The idea, I think, of the third step is to just plan ahead as much as possible. So you did your homework.
yeah.
You knew that there was yoga classes. That's your thing. You
Mm-hmm.
knew that'd be something you would enjoy. And whether it's that or knowing that you're walking, maybe you're going to set a walking goal and you're going to start paying attention to a pedometer, or maybe it could be food related. Be as specific as possible. What will I typically order? What restaurants are we going to? I mean, when you and I were talking about this earlier, when people travel, they can be so specific and so detailed in their travel plans. Why not be just as detailed in your plans to stay on plan or whatever it is. Why not be as detailed with how you're going to keep up your healthy habits? So just get as specific as possible.
Yeah, I think we all make, there's a fallacy of assumption for many of us when we travel, that the supportive food will just kind of be available and we won't have to think about it. It's a kind of magical thinking that it will just happen and we'll be able to figure it all out when we get there, and that's part of the vacation experience. But we don't say, well, I'll just go to the airport and get on the next plane. That would be crazy talk, right?
When you're traveling, you probably have gone a step further and even made some restaurant reservations. You know where you're staying. You do have a lot of details in place. Why not go a step further?
Right.
As much as possible.
Right. And along those same lines, going that step further is you can have the best intentions in the world, but if you don't pack to support those goals. I was sharing a story with Stacy earlier that we were talking about a girlfriend who was traveling to a foreign country and knew that she was more than a little bit concerned about how she would like that food. Mm-hmm. And so she made certain that she had easily packable, okay to take into the country foods available in her suitcase so that she could nibble food, but she never had to worry that she was going to be hungry, and that she knew she would be supported with healthy, nutritious food. If I want to go and do yoga, then I have to have my yoga clothes packed. If you want to go scuba diving or snorkeling, you want to have that stuff available. So really planning and thinking about, for all things, what do I need to have packed in there to support myself? And that's a step we often forget, where we decide last minute, I don't want my tennis shoes to take up the space in my bag. And so the tennis shoes get left behind, and so really making that space and figuring out, how am I going to make this happen? How can I support myself?
Yeah, and the last tip would be to remember that you're not depriving yourself, that you're really just planning and indulge where you feel you want to indulge and pull back when it's not so important. So really the point is that you have choices and you're in control.
Right. And that one I think is so important, that to not go into it with a deprivation mindset that I have to do this, I have to punish my body and stay on plan and work out, and what can you embrace in this trip that will enhance your trip, enhance your life, and allow you to come back to your beautiful full life feeling great. So
yeah.
All right.
I agree. Yeah.
5 tips we had there, and just to summarize those tips, one is define the purpose to set the expectations. The other one is decide what your goals are on the trip as they relate to your eating and your activity. Plan ahead to support those goals, and then pack to support those goals. And the last one, we always talk about headspace. So remember, you are not depriving yourself. You are nourishing that beautiful body and supporting it with nutrition and activity.
Absolutely.
So, I see that your pup has joined us. It must be time for us to close. So I hope folks will join us on our Lifestyle Masterclass page on Facebook and learn more about us there, and consider joining us in our Lifestyle Masterclass series.
Great. All right. We'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for listening.
Take care.